Today is cool, man. Today is a cool day. We've been waiting a couple of years to hear some new music from one of our favorite MCs. And when you got a guy like this that you really admire and you look up to and you enjoy what they do, you kind of say, whenever you're ready. Because when the music comes and the product comes, it's always really, really exciting. I got Brother Ali in here, album out today, first one in 5 years. My man, welcome.
Thank you. I feel welcome because you guys really play my music.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of a lot.
Oh, yeah. Like, we love Own Light. We love it. When I first heard it, and we talked off the mic, the whole premise of this radio station was to take indie hip-hop and national hip-hop and West Indian vibes and a little bit of pop music and a little bit of everything that younger people are listening to, that millennials are listening to, and make it all complementary. So when you come with a record like Own Light, I mean, instantly, we added it the day it came out. I heard it on one of the servers, like Tidal or something, and literally put it in that day. And we've been supporting it because it's you and it's amazing music.
Yeah. You know, I'm legally blind, so I can't drive.
Okay.
So I'm not in the car listening to the radio.
Yeah, okay.
But I get tweets all throughout the day.
Yeah.
Where people are like, I'm just hearing your new music on Go right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they call and request it. They're like, let me get that Ali on Afternoon Drive.
And we also said off air that you were the first guy to do that. You did that 10 years ago at B96.
Yeah, man, we had that, The Truth Is Here. And that album was amazing. And it dropped right when I first started doing radio here. And I felt like it was a no-brainer. Like, this is the record, let's go. We're still playing that. That's like a throwback for us now.
Yeah, that's really
beautiful,
dope,
man.
Really, really dope.
So in the last couple of years, you've been obviously doing some personal stuff and away from the industry. Were you recording during the process, or were you just kind of doing your own thing and doing the family stuff?
No, I didn't record at all. You know, when the last album came out, I was doing a lot of community and political organizing and activism, and I still do that stuff. But basically, that kind of got me to a place where I was looking to make this music and what the possibilities are about something bigger than just me and about bigger than just having a show. Not that shows aren't big. That's very important.
Yeah.
You know, it really matters. It's a really beautiful thing when people can come together and have an experience together. You know, everything in this culture now is about what we can buy and what we can sell and what we can commodify and what we can quantify.
Yeah, man.
But, you know, music and culture are one of the few things that, yes, we still buy and sell things, and there's a business around it. And that's part of what made me leave it alone for a long time. But, you know, we still have this kind of like unseen experience together that is a spiritual kind of experience.
Definitely.
And so at the time that I made my last album, I really was looking to connect to something bigger. And so I thought maybe that the political thing could be that. And so I really, you know, got involved and got really well versed in those kind of things, and I actually trained Shaka Mkali, I Self Divine.
Yeah.
Basically, he trained our generation and the younger generation of organizers in this city.
Yeah.
So Misha from Black Lives Matter, who shut down the police station for 18 days.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She comes through that
right.
Him basically as our local like guru.
Yeah.
Of organizing and of politics and of power building for marginalized communities. So
most definitely.
I went and trained with him and studied with that group and did the whole thing. And I don't know what other people experience in that work, but one of the things that I experienced is that it was difficult for me to navigate my ego in that space. Like when you come out and you're like, I'm gonna be a rapper. It's well known. Like everybody's gonna look at me.
Right.
I'm going to talk about like my ego is gonna fuel this.
Yes.
And then this is gonna fuel my ego.
Yeah.
And the ego is very happy just doing that.
Yeah.
Because basically we all have like a child that lives inside us that's demanding, and that's what the ego is. Some people's ego is a little baby that's just like, I want so and so, and it's like screaming. And it's like you have a relationship with your ego. When am I going to give it what it wants? When am I going to starve it?
Real.
When am I going to discipline it?
Yeah.
Those kind of things. So when you're just going out to make records and throw shows and go in business, it's like, this is about me and my personality and my ego and my money and my attention. And it's fine. But the minute you start to say, I'm going to connect this to being about something bigger than me, it's not like the ego is like, okay, cool, I'll just chill then. The ego turns into like a bratty teenager who starts conniving and sneaking out the house, and like the ego just grows up a little bit.
Yeah.
But not to the point where it's a mature adult. But you start to, what I was experiencing is like the difference between what I'm talking about is important and me feeling important because of that, talking about something bigger than me and me feeling bigger than me, it gets really slippery.
Yeah, man.
So I started realizing, like, man, first of all, these things have to be right within me. And it's not about first and second. So it's not about like, I'm going to go sit on a mountain and get enlightened, then I'm going to come and be Martin Luther King and save the world. But really, the things have to go together, and it has to be a balance. So I started to realize with myself that it showed up because I was experiencing bitterness. Where, I put a lot of work into that album. And me and Jake One at that time put out 3 albums in 1 year. So it was like one about relationship stuff, one that was just a mixtape of me just spitting over his beats, and then the album that was the political thing. And my fans didn't respond to it the way that they responded to my earlier music, because they're used to hearing me telling these personal stories and rocking the party and all that kind of stuff. And so for me to come out and say, this is what I think about politics, and this is about white supremacy and all of this stuff. And it was kind of like, man, that's not the deal that we have. You know what I mean? And so some of them have really come to appreciate that music over time, especially after the election and things like that. People saying like, we really appreciate this album now. But at the time, they were just got a little quiet, and I started feeling like, why aren't you responding more? And I started realizing like, wow, my ego is really trying to compromise this whole thing. So I needed a way to really get in touch with myself, to become more self-aware, and to do the individual healing that I need from my own heart. And so I started seeking out, the same way when I wanted to was like, I'm speaking to, like, over the course of a tour, we just did 75 shows with Atmosphere.
Crazy.
The smallest show is 500 people. The biggest ones are 7,000, 10,000 people. So I just spoke to 100,000 people. So there's not anything wrong with saying, if I'm going to talk to 100,000 people and they're all going to be focusing on every word, that I give them something bigger than just me and my raps, you know? But I also needed to check in with self. So I said, okay, the same way that I went and talked to I Self Divine and studied with organizers, who are the people of spirituality that I can go to? So within Islam, it's the Sufis. So you go and you have like both individual, like peers that are, your traveling partners on the path of spirituality. And then you have teachers. You have like a guru or a sheikh or somebody who's, traveled that path.
Like a sensei, like in like a dojo. Like, they teach you and they kind of watch over you.
And they're almost like your spiritual care provider. And so they know you, and you spend time with them, you travel with them, you live with them, you serve them.
This is deeply personal stuff, like really introspective, deeply personal connection, right? A lot of traveling and a lot of serving. And it's done different ways in different parts of the world. So my wife went and studied in Turkey. And in Turkey, that's where the poet Rumi is buried. And there still is a Sufi order that's based on his enlightenment that he had, that shows up in his poetry. So she studied at Rumi's tomb. And that's a very formal, that's European Islam. In Turkey. They're very formal, you know what I'm saying? My teachers are West African. And they kick it. The way that you learn spirituality is like, you get up, you prepare food, you cook, you have guests come in. So you may be hosting like a dignitary, and then you'll also bring like poor people in who don't have anything to eat. And the way you treat everybody, nobody knows who's who. You treat everybody like a dignitary. Whatever the best thing you have to offer is, you offer it. Cook food, make tea, make coffee, burn beautiful scents and things like that, and just kick it and serve them. You know what I mean? It's amazing.
And so there's just years of that. And then also formal study too. There's a college in Oakland, in Berkeley, actually, that the first accredited Islamic university. So I went and studied there as well. I didn't end up finishing that program because my teachers were like, you don't need to be in college, you need to be making music. It's time for you to make music about what you're experiencing.
And they kind of pushed you to get back into it.
Get back in there.
So you have to feel really good after this experience. Like, you really went and searched within yourself. And have you evolved, do you think, since then?
It's hard to know. Like, the thing is that if a person, the great ones say that a person who thinks that they've achieved a status has no status at all.
No, I feel it.
And the person who doesn't think they have any status, those are the special people. So then, of course, you're always going back in your heart of like, because the ego never quits until you arrive at like enlightenment or sainthood, or you know what I'm saying. I believe that there are people who arrive. One of the things about the modern world is that we say nobody's perfect. There are no saints. There are no more holy people. That's not true, but those people aren't advertising. Those people a lot of times are secrets, and you have to look to find them. And a lot of times you get there and it's like, oh, this is just somebody's grandmother. You know what I mean? But if you're with her long enough, you start to realize that amazing things happen around her.
Wow.
And that she's able to actually, shift your heart. And, and you have to be humble in order to do it. Similar to Doctor Strange, the Doctor Strange movie that came out. I went to that. I don't go to movies a lot because I can't see.
Right.
But I sat through that movie. Man, Darian took me the first time. Darian loves...
If the movie is dope, I haven't seen it.
The movie is super dope.
Okay.
But it's all about Sufism to me. Okay. Because I'm reading it. I'm viewing it through that lens. You know what I'm saying? But so this man basically is like this doctor. He thinks he's the guy. And then he has this accident where he experiences a type of death. He can't move his hands and do his surgery anymore. Okay. So then he has to go sit with this guru. Yeah. And she basically is saying, like, you're too arrogant. You're full of yourself. Like, you have to empty yourself of yourself so that I can't pour in your vessel because you're too full of yourself.
100%.
And so, you can never say, I've arrived. You just know, like, I've embarked on this journey. And making this music is part of the journey. It's not, so I'm not saying, like, I went to Africa and got it, or I went to...
I'm here now,
I went to southern Spain and
just
sat in Alhambra, and now I've got it.
Yeah.
But it's like, I'm on this path, and part of this path is sharing.
Yeah.
And so when I say, like, all the beauty in this whole life, it really means, like, I am reflecting on the beauty of everything, and just sharing what I'm experiencing, the same way that all the other music is sharing what I'm experiencing. So if somebody's on the block and what they're experiencing is, snitches and haters and the police and customers and their own feelings of, like, conflict about what they're doing and trying to make it and prison and da-da-da-da-da, their music is about what they're experiencing. And some of it's really spiritual. Yeah, man. Some of it's really deep, Yeah. But at this moment in my life is what I'm experiencing.
Speaking of beauty, when I see these videos of the singles for the album, absolutely amazing. Own Light, you come down over this green mountains and you're sitting in the mountains, and then it shows the ocean. And then when we look at Never Learn and you're in the mosque in New Mexico and the beauty and this the fire behind you, you guys really set out to the expression is levels of the visuals and the music and everything. Talk about the experience making these videos, man.
Yeah, man. Well, the idea is that beauty communicates truth. Beauty is the outward manifestation of truth. And when we talk about, outward beauty is a reflection of inward beauty. So when you say, somebody says Peter Parker is a beautiful person, they're talking about your pretty eyes and all that, but really they're talking about your heart and, like, your virtue. So like the outward beauty is a reflection of virtue, and what beauty does when it's natural, especially like the beauty of creation, is it speaks to the soul, and it soothes the soul, and it pulls the soul gently towards the truth that it's communicating. So, you talk about, if you look at, like, these old writers like Thoreau and Whitman and all these people, or if you look at, you talk to, like, the First Nations, elders and their spiritual people, these people know that, like, being in nature and the beauty of that it has an impact on a person, and it heals you. And there's something unspoken about that you can't necessarily quantify. Also the same is true with, so like when you see in the Never Learn video, that Adobe mosque, traditional societies, they knew that nature was the real beauty. So when they built a building, if they say, like, we have to have a building for this purpose, whether it's a school or a mosque or homes or whatever. But we know that God's creation is the most beautiful thing that there is. So we're not going to interrupt it. And anytime that we have to build a building, it's going to be in harmony with nature. So that mosque is built so that when you look at the mountains in the background, it's complementary.
It definitely is.
The mosque complements the mountains. You know what I mean? What the modern world has done is to try to remove all of that. And it's for a very specific reason. It goes along with propaganda. It goes along with totalitarian government. And that's what I'm saying. So, like, working on the spiritual stuff, it doesn't at all take you out of being a revolutionary and a freedom fighter.
Yeah.
It actually means that this will be something that will emanate from the pit, the core of who I am, as I'm struggling to get it right. And if I'm only struggling to get the outside world right, but I don't have a system, a lot of people don't like organized religion, and I totally understand that. I get when people are atheists. I get when people want to be spiritual.
Yeah.
They don't like organized religion. I get it. I've had an experience with Islam that makes me know that to me this is true. But not everybody's articulation of Islam, it rings true to me.
Right.
So these things are absolutely connected, and there has to be a system to do it, and there has to be elders and guides that basically say this is where you are, because otherwise it's our own ego making up our own spirituality.
Right, it's hard to navigate.
Yeah, there's no way, because I'm limited. We're all limited in our scope and what we're able to really perceive, especially in ourselves.
Yeah.
The thing we know least about is ourselves. And so, basically you have the situation where these people who are creating these totalitarian governments, they have propaganda that's absolutely necessary where they flood us completely so that everything we're taking in was made by some human being who's cooked in the pot of modernity, of white supremacy, of, anti-women, of, hyper individualism and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, man.
So basically everything we see is created by some person who had this idea. They block the sky with these buildings.
Right.
They block the sky with billboards. They block our silence by constantly pushing content at us all the time. And so for me, the idea is to just to reset. And so I'm not really in the videos a whole lot. Like, I'm in them.
Yeah, but the scenery is the star.
That's the star. And then in the Never Learn video, the dancers Iman and Khadijah,
yeah,
and they're like dear family friends to me. I'm close with their mom, so they're my nieces in that sense,
Yeah.
So basically allowing and what they do speaks of natural beauty. Their dance is it speaks of their own regality and their own royalty and their own dignity.
Yeah,
that
man.
they know a dignity that a human being has. They know a power that a woman has. And the way that they dance is it's very beautiful, and it's also very majestic at the same time.
It's crazy.
And so so that's the idea. It's I'm just reflecting these things right now. I'm trying not to speak from and I'm not even trying. I'm not entertained by speaking from myself much right now.
Yeah.
What's really got me excited is all of this stuff. And so all of that is in the music.
It's beautiful. And I can really hear the journey you've been on. And it's like you said, it's constant reflection and you're just embarking on it. But I feel like it's an elevated sense, and it's amazing to hear you talk like this, man. The album is out today. Never Learn video's out. The Own Light video's out. You're going to be on Soundset, not as a host, rocking once again, performing this year on Soundset. You're on tour right now.
Yeah.
What's the city you're looking forward to being in most?
Well, obviously, the Twin Cities is always the best.
Of course.
But Oakland.
Yeah.
I'm playing in Oakland at the New Parish.
You have a good connection out there in Oakland.
I really love Oakland. Yeah, I lived out there. My home is always here, but there are times where I'll get an apartment or something in another city.
Yeah.
And Oakland and the Bay Area really, this album came together because, me and Ant had kind of drifted apart in our friendship.
Yeah.
No falling out, nothing like that, but
life.
Sometimes you're just not in rhythm with each other.
Of course.
And that was really painful for me. I wrote Ant these long emails where I'm like, I'm not seeing you, I miss you, I'm incomplete without you. That's a really important.
Is he
person.
almost like your premier? He's like the backbone of a lot of the stuff.
It's deep, man. So Rumi, the poet Rumi,
yeah,
who's the most popular poet in American life. He's the #1 selling poet in America.
Okay,
and he's a Sufi or he's a Muslim scholar.
Yeah,
and he's also a Sufi master.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he's a Muslim scholar. But we forget that. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? We like to do this culture vulture thing where we remove people from their context. So Americans are afraid of Muslims, but they're reading Rumi and getting their life spirituality lessons from this Muslim scholar. But so Rumi, all of his poetry comes from him achieving this ecstatic state with God, where he's witnessing God, not with his eyes, but also he sees everything he sees God. Everything he perceives is God. And so he achieves these states, and then he just starts versifying like Jay-Z. You know what I'm saying? Off the top, from his heart and off the top of his head. And he's got a guy there that writes it. And so all of Rumi's poetry is like that. it's not Rumi sitting there with a pen like, well, what
he's
works
he's
better
channeling, and there's a guy scribing it, and like,
right.
Wow.
What they found out later is that Rumi couldn't achieve that state without that guy. And so that's what Ant is for me. And I think it's the same for Slug. So like there's certain places that I can't get unless I'm with Ant because of the type of friends we are. But then also, so like we talk and we, you know, we're rebuilding our friendship. We both ended up in the Bay. I was going to school out there.
Yeah.
And then Ant was out there and, you know, had this life transformation that he could talk about if he wants to, but basically had this beautiful, like, amazing transformation in his life.
Mm-hmm.
You talked about, like, talking to him now.
His daughter,
and, like,
anything, he's so ecstatic,
he's
man.
in a beautiful place. But I've always known he was beautiful.
Yeah, man.
I've always believed that Ant is a
He's
saint.
the man.
Yeah. Sometimes saints have outward things that throw you off the scent. You know what I'm saying? Because you have to be able, only certain people can really see the inside of a person.
There's something very rare about him. When you're around him, you can feel it's different. Like and I was always drawn to Ant, like, and we had very limited exchange. He would always be like, "What's up, my man? What's happening?" But I recognized there was something going on with this guy, you know?
Yeah.
Amazing.
And that's why he's able to make the music that he makes with people is because, and that's why he doesn't just work with anybody.
Yeah.
A lot of people have reached out and a lot of like known people are like,
nah, he's good.
Get Ant beats and like, no, it doesn't work like that.
Right.
I work with people that I see the core of who they are, and I want to help them make the music that can show that. So we were in Oakland,
amazing.
And we sat with this guy named G Coop,
Okay.
who plays every instrument under the sun. The musical part of Bad and Bougie, that's G Coop.
Wow.
The musical part of like I Got the Keys with Khaled and, and Future and
that's
Jay-Z,
this guy.
that's G Coop.
Whoa.
The like when Jake One replays samples, so like the choir and the instruments and stuff that Jake One did for Drake, that's G Coop.
Okay.
So G Coop loves Ant.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And he basically is like, this dude is like quiet as kept. This guy's low key one of the greatest that's ever done it.
Yeah, man.
That's what he believes.
I know, I feel it.
And so when we made this music, like me and Ant had like reestablished our bond. And then I sat in the room with them when they made the music. You know what I mean? And then I came back and wrote the songs. So all that stuff happened in Oakland. So you asked like, what city am I looking forward to? I'm really excited about going to Oakland.
Yeah, that's a very, very cool thing, man.